Welcome to another episode of the Carry Trainer Higher Line podcast. Here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Carry Trainer Higher Line podcast. We've got a special guest for you today, soon to be Carry Trainer student of S12, right? Which is super cool. Zach Scholl. Zach, you're not from Florida. You go to school in Florida. Are you from Maryland?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Zach contacted me. Welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
Zach, you contacted me about a month and a half, 2 months ago, maybe? Does that sound right?
Yeah. At least a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I was on a road trip, if memory serves, doing a class, and you called or messaged me and said, hey, I just got something to run by you, and we started talking, and now here we are a couple months later. So you go to school at Palm Beach Atlantic University in sunny Florida. We're about to start senior year of college, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you play lacrosse. For those of you that don't know, that's a cross between soccer and hockey, kind of a weird rich person sport.
Okay.
It's close enough, right?
Yeah, that's a fair evaluation. Yeah.
What's the game with the little hooked thing? Is it got the little hooked stick or is it the little nets?
We got the little nets. The little hook stick is like field hockey or something like that.
Okay, I don't know. I'm not a sports guy, dude. I dance and sing and do stuff like that. So the reason that you called me was because you're a gun guy, which when I toss that out there, it's not like you're some fanatic. You grew up hunting, fishing, right?
Yes, sir.
And you've got a social media account where you've got some pictures of yourself posted with firearms. And I looked them up after you called me. They're tasteful pictures. They're like family hunting pictures. They're not like psycho pictures where you've got like a 50 cal machine gun shooting it into the air. It's like pictures.
Do you have one of those that I could take a picture with?
Yeah, we've got some stuff here that we could do that. I don't think that is the way the message that we're trying to relay. So you've got pictures of you doing a little hunting, and I think there was a photograph of you celebrating like a friend's birthday party or celebrating having a scotch or a whiskey and a cigar. Does that sound right?
Yep, that was there.
You're of age. You're not under.
Yes,
it's not underage.
I'm 22 years old.
Okay. So, and in a minute, I'm going to let you talk, but I just want to make sure I remember what we talked about. So you had called and you're like, hey, so here's the thing. I am on the lacrosse team. The coach called me or messaged me or emailed me and said you're not allowed to have photos of you shooting and drinking. And you asked what you thought my opinion was. And I asked a few questions. One of them was, is there some like school rules that forbade you from doing so? You said no. I asked if you had signed any type of an agreement to be on the team, because there are non-binding contractual agreements between students and coaches all the time. Like, you know, hey, I'm going to show up and work hard every day. So I didn't know if you guys had some type of agreement like that you were going to be a good student, or if there was something due to age, which we established that wasn't the case. So go ahead. Tell us a little bit more about the story.
So the first time I had a run-in with Coach with my social media was in the summer, last summer, before I'd even met him. I posted a picture at a Washington Nationals game and used the lyrics from a Tyler Farr song called "Why We Live Here." I believe the caption was, "Home of the brave, baseball and cold beer. It's pretty clear that's why we live here." It was actually 4th of July last year. I went to a Nationals game, and he texted me pretty upset that I'd used the word beer in a Instagram caption. And I found that a little weird, but he said, just be careful. I realized that it's song lyrics, so it's just be careful with that. I said, okay, fine. I was doing my best to comply with him at this point. And then the next time we really had a talk about my social media was at the end of the season. It's custom on a lot of teams for you to have an individual meeting with the coaches where they can talk about what happened that year, what you can do to improve, their overall opinion of you, that kind of thing. So there wasn't a whole lot that could go on in this meeting because I spent the whole season injured on the bench. I got knee surgery at the beginning of the season. I was 8 to 12 month recovery time, so there was no way I was playing at all. So I went in there and we just had a conversation. Nothing about my social media or the gun issue. Nothing was brought up. And then I brought it up because I asked. I was curious as to the NCAA rules. Since I was an NCAA athlete, as far as me receiving discounts on hunting gear because I'm on multiple pro staffs, where I full disclosure, get a discount on whether it's calls or my jackets or my waders, the stuff that I use. They're all from companies that I've used their stuff. I support them, and they now use me as a marketing tool. They use my Instagram as a place to market their product. And I said, am I breaking any rules? Because out of protection for the team, I want to make sure that I'm not breaking any rules by doing that.
You're doing the right thing and checking, making sure. Exactly.
I was just trying to make sure there were no problems with that. Especially before going into this season where I'd actually had the ability to play. I didn't want us to get disqualified from something because I was doing something wrong. So I was just clearing that up, and at that point, Coach did this thing where he just like slapped the table and he goes, "That's something we need to talk about." And he said, "Your guns on your Instagram." And I kind of sat there like, "Yeah, like, well, what about him? What's going on?" And the specific picture that he brought up, it's in my, once this has gotten so big, I've actually gone through and all the stuff that would be on my story that goes away after 24 hours, I've re-put it up in highlights in my profile just to be completely transparent so everyone can see what's out there. So there's, it was a picture of, I'm not sure if you've heard of Shooter Lube, but they make some pretty good cleaning products. And I had ordered some off of a recommendation. I got them. I took a picture of my my PPQ and my PPS as I was cleaning them. And for some reason, Coach was very, very put off by that picture. He said he said something about he said no, our luck, some mom of our next 5-star recruit is going to see that and think we've got some militant crazies on our team.
So just so everybody understands, so like when you and I first had this discussion, I want to make sure, now go back a couple steps. Today you've done a few news interviews and things of that nature. The story broke here though. I was the first, just sort of.
Yeah, you were definitely the first. You and Sheepdog Defense Project were the first two guys to know about this.
But anyway, that was just a smart ass joke. I want to make sure people understand that you're not out trying to screw over this coach.
100% now.
Screw your school over. When we first talked a month and a half ago, you talked with your father, you talked with me, and we had decided that you were going to give the school the benefit of the doubt. You wrote a letter or communicated with the dean. You wanted to let them respond. Hey, do you guys want to rescind this? Do you want to? You getting weirded out? Yeah. Just I want to make sure people understand this isn't some ploy to get you on camera. It's not some ploy to boost your Instagram account. Like when we first talked, I asked, what do you want? Like, what do you want out of this? And you're like, I just want to play lacrosse my senior year of college and not be reprimanded for doing nothing that's wrong. And you try to communicate with the dean. They sent you a letter. You tried to communicate with the coach and got nowhere. So we decided, hey, okay, we'll just talk about this a little bit. Now, you got a whole school year left there. So the other fear was you don't want to create an adversarial situation where you've got to go to school for a year at a university where people don't like you. So so we got to the point where you communicated with the dean. You said, hey, here's what's up. I've got a coach that's telling me I cannot play unless I basically take stuff off of social media. I think a lot of people would say, okay, fine, just don't post pictures. But here's the problem, and this is something that we and you are acutely aware of. You're breaking no law. You're not doing something immoral. You're at a religious university, so that does come into play. It's not like you're posting. It is a Christian school, right?
It is.
So
yes,
you're
sir.
not. It's not like you're posting pictures of you in Vegas pouring champagne on hookers or something. Which I could see, like, hey, we don't want our athletes representing the school in that way. You would agree, right?
Yeah, of course.
You've not done anything like that. You've got some family hunting pictures and some photos of you out with your classmates celebrating a party or whatever, celebrating a birthday. So here's the long and the short of it. What's going to happen? The school, and it was the other thing that you and I talked about, is I said, if we're going to do this, we want to give them the ability to respond or to even partake. So what happened when you asked the school?
You're asking about when I called attention to what happened, or you want to ask about like when we decided we were going to do this podcast?
We'll go back a minute. Go back to. So when you did
continue the story.
Say again.
You want me to just continue the story?
Please.
Where we left off? All right.
Please.
Yeah, after that, I went back and I told a bunch of the teammates. I was like, because a couple of the guys, they're from Texas. There's a kid from Texas. He's NRA member, big gun guy. Didn't have any guns down here because he was living on campus and you can't have guns on campus.
Which you didn't as well.
Which I did not as well. That is correct. I told him, I was like, hey, dude, he told me to back off on the gun and hunting content. He suggested I do that. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, dude, like he might say it to you too. Apparently he didn't say anything to him. And then, or at that time, I know he had said something to him later, but at that time he didn't say anything. And then I was at the range, took my girlfriend to the range for the first time. She was shooting a pistol for the first time. There was the picture of the cigar picture was on my story, and it was followed up by multiple videos of her shooting for the first time, shooting my PPQ for the first time. I was putting all those videos up, and then my phone started blowing up while I was shooting. We were playing. You seen those targets where it's got it's like Battleship, and you shoot the other team's ships out? A lot of fun. That's
cool.
But we were doing that against each other, and my phone was blowing up. So I finally looked at it, and I saw I was in a group chat with Coach and this other player, and he initially just sent a screenshot of the cigar picture, and was upset about that. And I didn't really I didn't really look at it. I saw what was going on. I was like, I'm not dealing with this right now. I'm at the range. This is my happy place. Yeah. Like, I've got my girlfriend's here. We're just shooting. So I'm, still taking pictures. We're shooting, doing our thing. And I glanced out at my phone, which was sitting on kind of the table right there. And just in time to see a message that said, like, it was Coach addressing the other player saying, you tell your boy to stop posting stuff like this. And then I got mad. I looked at that and I was like, he put me in a group chat with this kid, and who's one of my very close friends. He put us in a group chat together, and now he's like acting like I'm not in the group chat and be like, hey, tell him this for me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that just seemed kind of disrespectful. So I got a little upset and finally responded, and I was like, hey, I'm right here. You can address me. If you have a problem with me, you can address me. And that's when he sent a message that was like, check the back messages. Like, you were addressed at the beginning, blah, blah, blah. And then he sent that message that has kind of set the Second Amendment community on fire, basically saying you can post your life on Instagram, the stuff that you do, the stuff that you care about, or you can play lacrosse. And I didn't respond for 3 hours. I was shocked. I was scared somewhat. And I didn't know what to do.
What were you scared about?
I felt like in order to receive a message like that, I had to have done something terribly wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, the message was so aggressive, and I was like, what did I do? Like, what is he ripping me apart about?
Yeah.
Because like I said, we've had these incidents before, and they were all like small and not really big deals at all. Like I just told you, there was I used beer in a caption, and there was some pistols on my story that were getting cleaned. They were unloaded on a paper towel, and I was so confused. I literally typed a pretty nasty like couple sentences, and basically said, "Screw you, I'm out." I might have literally texted that at the end of that with a different word, but I didn't send it for some reason.
Like a different word, like vulgarity?
A little bit.
Okay. So now, not to point fingers at you, but it sounds like you're giving it back to him a little bit now, but you guys are both grown men.
Yeah, I didn't like. I wanted to say something, I couldn't, and I didn't want to do it, and so I called the person I trust the most in my entire life. That's my dad, the guy who raised me.
Which is very cool. To
love the Second Amendment, love hunting. It was always just a way for me to spend time with him. Yeah. So I called him and I was like, "This is what just happened. Help."
I love the advice your dad gave you. He gave you good advice. Tell everybody.
He said, respond with class, decide what's important to you, and just speak from your heart, but do it professionally. Do it in a way that no one can condemn you for what you said.
Some good stuff right there. What I found really cool, besides the fact that your pop asked you to be respectful and full of class, he didn't tell you what to do. A lot of dads would have said, like, here's what we're going to do. You know, we're going to ram it up their butts and da-da-da-da-da. Like he left it to you to make the decision to sort it out. And you did. The little bit more backstory, you're at that university on an academic scholarship. So you're not just some dummy gun guy that wants to shoot guns and drink beer. You must be at least above average intelligence if you're down there on an academic scholarship. What are you studying, by the way?
I'm a computer science major with a minor in mathematics.
Gotcha. I can barely turn a computer on, and math is definitely a no-go. What are you going to do after you graduate? Just a sidestep here.
Right now, the two biggest things I'm looking into. One is going home, and I would like to work for the DoD in some form, whether it's intelligence or something with my computer major. Or my other option that I'm considering very hard is to stay down here and join the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office that they'll have me.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, so back to the topic here. And this is kind of what I think a lot of people that look at this stuff don't understand. They're like, what's the big deal? Just don't post any pictures of guns. Go play ball your last year. Go get on with your life. The United States has a big problem right now. And I don't care what the rest of the world says. I get messages from people, hundreds of them a year, from folks from across oceans that say, oh, you Americans and your guns. Look, man, I don't care what you have to say. We are a very special, amazing place. We're one of the only countries, we're the first country in the world that has a written constitution like ours, identifying, defining, and protecting the sacred liberties that we have. So when we start to look at something like a sports coach basically telling a student athlete that you're not allowed to exercise that right based on no law, no written rules of the university, no code of conduct breach, there's an issue there. Because then what comes next? Like, hey, you guys aren't allowed to listen to rock music. Hey, you guys are not allowed to attend synagogue or your mosque or your church, or you guys are not allowed, not to be graphic, but you're not allowed to date another guy. That's not graphic. Or no same sex. Like, hey man, like we have a constitution to protect us from this kind of nonsense. Yet,
100%.
Yeah. And I think that there's many people will get this instantly, but the reason I'm spelling this out, not to you, is so people listening to it understand the broad-reaching implications. And while this is just one little incident in one university in one part of the United States, do you need to talk to somebody?
No, I've got coffee coming.
Oh, lovely. While it is just a specific instance, this stuff happens all the time. It happens all the time, and this is a systemic problem created by giving in. We give in a little bit at a time, and this is where we get. I recently presented to our county board here where I live a week or two ago on a topic related to firearms, and it was the same type of mindset. Many folks are looking at firearms as something that is completely regulatory or able to be regulated, and something that is more for the hobbyists. They do not understand that the Second Amendment bears the exact same weight as my right to free speech, as my right to religion, as my right to a fair and speedy trial, as my right to vote. These things are all inherently protected, yet for some reason, this whole anti-gun movement, we've taken it and been like, yeah, that's kind of like not that big a deal because I don't appreciate it. What says you to that?
Hopefully this all just starts that conversation that we've all been trying to have. Like, the Second Amendment is so much bigger than just, it's not applied to hunting. Like,
for sure.
I've heard that argument so many times where someone's like, you don't need an AR-15 to hunt. Okay.
You're right. I
car
don't.
to get places. You are correct. You do not need a car to get places. You can walk. You could, I mean, like how else do you want me to say it? Like, or they'll say, why do you carry a gun every day? Why do you carry a gun every day when the cops are there? That's their job.
It's a fundamental understanding of what the Second Amendment actually means, and we've got schools not explaining it. They kind of gloss over that one. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves the right to free speech. Everybody loves that one because it means they get to say whatever they want. They can go online and write little snide comments under screen names and be protected. But not everybody wants to spend a lot of time talking about the Second Amendment. It's such a heated debate now, especially when we have children being murdered in schools by madmen, and crime up in huge cities. I'm from Chicago area. We had like 74 people shot last weekend, just in one week. Lord. Yeah, it's terrible. But again, that's not the point at hand that we're talking about. The thing I'm concerned about here is what's going to happen when you go back to school. Because right now, this is just starting. You just started doing these interviews in the last 24 hours. And again, for posterity here, recorded, we gave the opportunity to the dean and the coach to
the president. I offered the president the ability
of
to
the
come
university. And even if they didn't want to come, even if they didn't want to come on, send a written statement or something, and they declined. So.
Yeah, I mean, in his credit, he did. I know. I told him I was going to be doing this with you, and this was before the stuff with the NRA.
Yeah.
Like, I said something. I said, hey, a acquaintance. I think I called you a friend, but we're not. I'm sure we aren't quite there yet. But
we're buddies.
Buddies. We can go with buddies. All right. Well, a buddy's doing a podcast, and he wants to discuss, students in the Second Amendment. What's going on with me? In the nature of transparency, would you like to come on with us? And he basically said, no, I'm too busy, but thank you for the offer. I'm sure you will represent yourself and the school well. And I mean, we gave the opportunity. Like I said, this like I told you earlier when I was on the phone with you, this whole thing was never me trying to get at the school. It was never me trying to get at coach. This has become so much bigger than that. So when it happened, it was initially anger and confusion. And I sent it to you, and I sent it to the Sheepdog Defense Project, which is a pretty popular, concealed carry lifestyle Instagram.
I know.
And he asked if he could post it, and he said he asked if he could tag me in it. And I said, yeah, that's fine. I'd like to see what the community thinks of this. So he posted it. You gave me some advice as to what was going on, and it kind of died out. I made my formal complaint to the school. I said, hey, like, something's not right. Can you please explain to me what's going on? Can you please give me your position as a institution on what's happening? And for about a month, they kept responding with, it's a private matter. We're investigating, like a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, as far as I can tell,
it's not a private matter. You're the one that's being injured. It's not, that's the thing that's so silly. It's not private. Like, it's not you asking about somebody else's business. You're not saying like, hey, what's going on with this other person? You're saying, you injured me, and I want to know how you're going to protect me.
Yeah. I mean, I tried protecting them for a while. Like, remember when you first asked me if you want to talk about it on the podcast, I said, I sent a formal complaint. I want to give school an opportunity.
You have been 100% a good guy in all of this, because there's a lot of people that would have went right to a lawyer or right to the local news station or right to some outlet to fix it or get vengeance or punch them back. But you've given them every opportunity to correct it, to at least explain themselves. And I've actually never yet heard any explanation. This is me talking, not you. My feeling is this coach just doesn't like guns and just doesn't think that student athletes represent the school. I don't know if this has to do with the Parkland shooting so recently, because that's near your school, right?
Yeah, it's within an hour.
So, that was kind of like my thought. Like, what would cause a guy to be willing to put himself into the public spotlight in what will be perceived as heroic by one section of society? Because there's a lot of people that'll say, good for this coach, sticking up for protecting the kids, because that's what people look at it like. But there's going to be a bunch of other people in the next week or so that are going to go, who the hell is this guy? Why is he around students? Why is he allowed to impact and influence kids? And then people are going to say, who the hell is leading this college and letting them trample the protected civil liberties of a adult student? And that's the biggest problem. What do you say?
I mean, I totally agree, but like I said, this is so much. It's bigger than just him. Like, what people don't understand is, like, a couple of my teammates have contacted me, and
when you say it's bigger than him, are you talking about at your school?
I'm talking about. This issue is so much bigger than just me versus a coach or me versus a school.
Yeah, but that's what we're talking about, though. I mean, we can't comment on what Joe Schmo from New York or Bobby from California thinks. I mean, we can talk about it, but anybody that's listening to this understands that the country is very much divided on the Second Amendment. So you've got people like myself and like you that are pro Second Amendment. And that, to me, here's something when I talk to lawmakers, the thing that I explain is, even if I never touch a gun ever again in my life, that doesn't change the way I think about the Second Amendment. And I approach the Second Amendment just like I do the First, the Third, the Fourth, the Fifth, the Sixth, so on and so forth. They all hold equal value. So that, in this sense, though, you are the one that's being injured. You're the one that needs to be protected. So there's always going to be people that, let's be honest, the Constitution does change. There was a point 100 years ago women could not vote. There was a point when black people were enslaved, beaten, raped, children taken from their parents, not just in our country but others, but we're talking about this country. Constitution is changed. So why this is so scary, while people say it's a constitutionally protected right, we the people can ratify the Constitution. It's happened. The Volstead Act, prohibition, we changed the Constitution and added an amendment, and then we added another one to get rid of it. So people don't realize the precipice that we're on in this country, where we are going to be so divided on this issue, which is why it's so important that we have people like you that will stand up, but also do it in a classy way, like your father said. So you were going to make a point about the broad issue, and I'm not trying to cut you off, but I want to get to the root of the matter here. What's going to happen when you get back to school?
That's it's daunting, honestly. Like I've gotten contacted by some other students. First of all, the student-run newspaper wants to do an article on me, which could be interesting. But they've done articles about the flaws of the school in the past, so I think they'll do a good job being fairly unbiased as to what's going on. But I've also been contacted by other students saying I can direct quote a fellow student who said, "This shit is something 15-year-olds do for 15 seconds of attention."
So that's what this person thinks you're doing, trying to get attention.
That's what is his opinion. Yes.
And that's okay. I mean, that's his right to have a negative opinion about it. But I think the big picture is that there's always in the history of our nation most people are on the periphery of change, my opinion. Mm-hmm. Most people allow a few to affect change. Most people not even allow, but most people are willing to just let the few people that are in power make the choices, and then they either complain about it or they follow it. I find it comical when I hear people or folks will send me messages and they say the government this or the government that or big corporations. I'm the kind of person that I say we have people, and you have people that either do or you have people that let people do, and you're doing something. And your coach, I think in a lot of ways, is probably pretty passionate about doing his job. If he, just to give him his due, is he a good coach otherwise?
I would say so. I think he's definitely one of the better coaches I've ever had. He's better than any other NCAA college coach that I've had.
Okay.
I like I said, I don't think this is like him being like a bad coach. I think he just overstepped a line.
Sure. I mean, he apparently he cares about the school's image, which that's telling of his character. And in his opinion, he feels that he's doing you a service by helping you protect yourself from creating a bad image in the world. That's my thought, and I'm going out on a limb. That doesn't mean he's right, though. Just because he feels
that's probably right, giving him.
Yeah. The way I look at this is, and I said it a moment ago, this would be I'll choose Muslims. This would be no different than him telling a Muslim student, you can't post pictures of you in prayer, or you can't post pictures of your Quran, or you can't post pictures of you celebrating a Muslim holiday, or the same for a Jew or a Christian. Like, you just can't do that. Now, if you're, again, posting pictures or something distasteful, you doing something illegal or horrific with a gun. You see people post silly, not silly, but very stupid, people pointing guns at each other. This seems to be like a thing now. You've seen these videos where guys walk up pointing a gun. Like, if it was something like that, hey, idiot, stop that. But again,
you're violating about 10 different gun safety laws right this second.
Sure. But you weren't doing any of that. So what's going to happen, man? School starts in, a few weeks?
Well, first I'm going to miss a couple days of school because I'll be training with you.
Good stuff.
But I don't know what's going to happen. It's gotten a lot of attention, and like I said, I'm hoping this just opens a conversation. I plan on returning to school as a normal student, just doing my thing. I've got about 6 classes left before I can graduate. So 3 a semester, relatively easy load for me.
Yeah.
So I just want to go back, finish my degree, and get on with my life, honestly. But I feel like now I have a responsibility to represent and speak out for a community that has things like this happen to them all the time. Now that people have seemed to taken a special interest in this story, And now I have the tools to try to enact change. And that's going to be part of what I want to do.
What change would you like to see? What would be, just like the first time we spoke, I said, what do you want to happen? What's the end goal? What change?
The end goal for this is I want someone who, it doesn't have to be their Second Amendment rights, or it can be their First Amendment rights. It can be their freedom of speech, their freedom of religion. Someone who isn't saying anything when they're being harassed by an authority figure, for example, in a college or some other institute of higher learning. Someone out there is a student who's on a scholarship or an athlete who's on a scholarship, and they're being harassed for something that they believe in. And they aren't saying anything because they're afraid of losing that, whether it's their status in the school, whether it is their monetary scholarship from the school, and they're afraid of losing something. And so they're compromising their beliefs out of fear and not speaking up out of fear. And I'm hoping that someone will see this and see that there's another option. Like, standing up for yourself, people will support you. People will stand beside you. People will stand behind you. Stand up for yourself. It's not worth, if you believe in something strongly and you're suppressing that and not speaking out when someone else has a problem with it, you're really just only doing a disservice to yourself. And I'm hoping someone, if it inspires one person to do something different, I think that's a win. I've gotten, like, my Instagram has exploded in the past couple hours. I've gained a couple hundred new followers. The picture of my carry gun went from 96 likes to over 800 overnight. And I'm getting countless messages from people. A lot of them just saying, good work, good for standing up for what you believe in. But then I'm also getting a lot of messages from other college students, other players, high school students that are going into college. Younger kids are seeing this story. People are seeing this story everywhere, and they're saying, they're coming to me and saying, you have inspired me or motivated me to do something about this, to stand up for myself. And now that I have this platform and I have this ability to kind of speak out, I hope that's true. It's such a fragile thing here, where now in this country, a lot gets suppressed. No matter what side of the aisle you sit on, a lot gets suppressed, and a lot of people are afraid to speak up. And I just hope this helps someone make that jump and speak up for themselves.
Would you feel the same way if this was maybe a same-sex scenario at your school? Would you not for you, for example, but if it was a student that was barred from playing because somebody was against homosexuality, would you have the same feeling to protect them? I'm not trying to pin you into something.
No, you're good. You're good.
What I'm driving at, and just so people understand where I'm coming from, I'm pretty libertarian and viewpoint, even though I was a vice chair of the Republican Party for some time. My viewpoint is, as long as what you're doing is not injurious to anybody, I'm okay with it. I'm not talking about smoking crack or anything, but love who you want to love, marry who you want to marry, lead a good life, be a good example to others, and cause no harm to anybody. But I think sometimes certain people, and I'm not saying this is you, certain people are like, I'll stand up for that if it fits my lifestyle, if it fits my belief system. And that is anti-American as we can get. And I bring this up because there's people on both sides of, I'll say, liberal and conservative, or in this case, gun, anti-gun. There's a lot of anti-gun people that are very pro-First Amendment. And there's a lot of pro-gun people that want to censor and limit free speech because they don't like people saying or doing certain things, or we don't want certain people allowed in our country because those people are bad people. Like, hey man, that is not the way it works. So
yeah,
let you comment on that. I just want people to understand where you're coming from so that it's all out there. And I'm sure some of the shit I'm asking you, people have not asked you today.
No, they have not. All the reporters have been relatively tame with this stuff.
Wusses.
I'm not. I believe the university, as a Christian university, would have already had a policy in place about that.
I'm just talking about you, though. I mean,
I would believe it is wrong. I would believe that is wrong. In my opinion, that is discrimination over the color of your skin, what you believe in, who you love, all that kind of, like, discriminating someone from competing in the sport that they love at a school, unless there is a very specific rule against it, which there shouldn't be.
Yeah, like where would that rule? What would that rule be rooted in?
Exactly. Like we're in what year are we in now? 2018.
Yeah.
2018. Yeah, it's 2018. Like there's no matter what color your skin is, what you believe in, who you love, that shouldn't be part of what allows you to compete at a college level, get hired for a job, all that kind of stuff. As long as it doesn't interfere with your performance at that job, on that field, court, rink, whatever you want to do, whatever you do, as long as it doesn't interfere with what you're doing for that company, it should have no say in whether or not you can be there.
So the real issue at hand here is not corporations, government, or school leadership. It's individuals. So the problem that exists, not just in our country, but throughout the world, is that individuals, regardless of who you are, I love this conversation because the most open-minded liberal that says they love everybody based on religion, creed, and color is the same person that maybe hates guns or hates, country music or something.
Well, it goes the other way too. It's the same way with guys who love guns. They'll say they're open for anything. They love guns. They love that, but they'll be
they're racist. They could
everyone.
They're
be super racist, openly racist about things. And I mean that's a stereotype too.
It's terrible.
And it doesn't give the gun community a good image. And honestly, some of the responses that have come from all this happening are also not giving the gun community a good image, in my opinion.
So you know that part of my background is that I work on educating lawmakers on the Second Amendment, especially here in my home state. Right now we're trying to work on some school boards, which is another story altogether. And one of the things I worked on 5-6 years ago was professionalizing, as your father said, and classing up the delivery of the message that people had when they would go try to discuss gun rights. And folks had an issue with that because they're like, I shouldn't have to put a suit and tie on. I should be able to walk in my state capitol with a T-shirt and jeans on. Yeah, man, go there in a T-shirt and jeans. But human nature is somebody's going to pay more attention to you and look at you in a different way if you have a suit and tie on and your hair combed and your beard shaved versus if you've got mustard stains on a T-shirt and grass stains on your sneakers. That's not somebody being prejudiced against your clothing. That's human nature. My dad used to go. My dad was a minister, so he always had a suit and tie on. We'd go like in the grocery store, and Dad would always have his tie on straight, and people, yes, can I help you, sir? Can I help you, sir? Can I help you, sir? And like if you went in the grocery store with jeans and the T-shirt or anywhere, it's just human nature. So that what you're talking about, I haven't paid attention today because I've been pretty slammed, but I guarantee there's some people saying some very ignorant, off the wall comments. And
yeah,
which goes back to people.
Exactly. There's two things I've learned from this whole thing. The first thing is how deep the Second Amendment community goes, because they like this. Like I said, this started as I sent it to one person. That person posted it. The veterans of South Florida got a hold of it. They sent it to Gruntworks, which is where I am today. Actually, I'm in the Gruntworks t-shirt factory, cool. And they posted it. Reached about 105,000 people. Mullen Labe Industries is a friend of the Gruntworks guy, so he posted it. Reached a couple more people, and posted it on Reddit. Someone saw it on Reddit, sent it to the NRA, and said, "Find this kid and talk to him." And now that's where we are today. But as a result of the NRA posting that, like it was cool to see how deep the Second Amendment community went, but it hurts to see some of the language and rhetoric that has been thrown at the school and Coach Tempone.
Which tells you a lot about what lies in the hearts of these people. And I'll say it bluntly. There's a lot of ignorant, moronic assholes that pound their chest because they think it's their right to own a gun, which it may be, but nobody has the right to talk like an asshole about, especially when there's so much that they don't know about the story. They just see like this young man was oppressed by the school, so I'm sure they're like, F those guys, they should all be shot. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I was talking to an alumni last night, and an alumni and some other players who've been supporting me, and the alumni said, I don't think that you're ignorant to the fact that the school literally had to shut down its Instagram because the comments were getting assaulted by people that saw this story. Yeah.
And he said, I'm sure that coach has his whole life has been blown up by people emailing him, calling him, whatever. And I've seen some of the comments, and they're downright nasty.
Mm-hmm.
And as gun owners, a lot of time we condemn the far left leaning side of the room for being, aggressive keyboard warriors that just want to throw names at people, and get nothing done and just be assholes. But once we have the microphone, like we have right now, a lot of people are stooping to that level. Yeah. And I don't think that's the way we're going to get any change or any message to get brought across. That's not, like, in order to get a difference, we have to be different. And right now, a lot of people they're not helping.
You had good parents, young man. That's exactly it. And that full circle here, you brought it up. In order to make a change, you have to enact some change. If two or three people, and I will add this, there's a lot of young people your age that look at the climate of the gun community. I don't really believe in a gun community. People say that. You just said it. I think there's all kinds of people. I've got friends that were huge supporters of President Obama that I hunt and fish with and do training with that would never make that public because of what they do for work. And they still enjoy, some of these things, but then they have far left-leaning political viewpoints. What I was about to say, though, is, and I lost my train of thought sidetracking myself, we really, really have to get back to the issue of being kind to each other. Like, it's 100%. Okay. It's okay if you don't agree with me. It's okay if you don't like what I like. Like, that does not mean that you some of the comments I get online, I shake my head like, would you say that to my face? Not like because I would hit you, but like, are you just like the things that you just write? And I don't believe people say, oh, it's the internet. No, it's just another way of communicating. That person is still a vile person that writes, hate. I had people toss the N-word around, like, God. And you're just like, dude, how do you just say that? Like, how do you just call somebody this name that you don't know, you've never met, because you didn't agree with them? And the stuff escalates, and it's sad, it's depressing. It's across all cross sections of society, or through all cross sections of society. People, like your dad said, need to start classing it up. That's how you communicate. This is the point I wanted to make. There's a lot of young people that don't understand this climate. has changed a lot. Like there's folks now that are hating hard on the NRA because they don't understand how laws are made. Like laws are not made and legislation is not changed just because people take some hardline stance and they say it's my right. Always since the dawn of our republic, there's a give and a take. You know, Jefferson and those guys, they would banter back and forth, changing and arguing. Even the writing of the Constitution was something that was argued. It wasn't like this stuff just came out of thin air. So these young men, your age and maybe up to 30, that are enjoying and participating in the Second Amendment, a lot of them don't realize that 5-10 years ago, there was no concealed carry in many states in the nation. This huge explosion of rights for carrying guns didn't exist for 100 years across the country. So now guys see a little bit of an issue like what we're having here, which is a little bit of an issue, and they think like, oh my God, the world's going to explode. So I want to make sure people understand that we're at one of like the freest times in history to express the Second Amendment, to have the freedoms to own a room full of guns and go shoot and do all of that stuff. It's a pretty special thing that we have here in this country. I mention all that because I want to make sure people listening understand that that rights can be changed, because our Constitution can be changed by the will of the people. So when we have a large section of society that acts like assholes, and that makes people want to change laws, like what happens in New York, California, Massachusetts, states like that, Jersey, it's because the will of the people want that. That's why. If California all of a sudden had an influx of Floridians, Texans, Arizonans, Montanans that moved to California, laws would change because people would vote differently. That's how that works. I'm off my soapbox.
Well, you talked about two things there that I think should be addressed. One of them is the NRA and all the bad press they get. Yep. And I acknowledge like some of the stuff they have done some questionable things, but they reached out
to who though? It's a private organization.
Well, exactly. Like they're all over the news. They get a ton of bad press. And honestly, I haven't even looked into some of that stuff because I just see all these negative headlines. And I'm just like, there's too much going on right here. But I'm not a member. I have never been a member of the NRA. And I think it speaks volumes that they found me. They reached out to me and they said, hey, we want to support you with what's going on.
Yeah.
And that is my only experience I've had with them. So you can say what you want about the NRA, but in my experience, they've been nothing but helpful. They've had a whole team that I've been able to call anytime this whole time and like, hey, I've got all these reporters. What do I do? Yep. I've been like, I want to talk about this. Here's what I want to happen. Like, how do I bring that up? And they've been preparing me for all this, and they've been doing everything they can to help me. So sure. I think the NRA, I think they get a bad rap a lot of the time, especially now, because a lot of people are saying some things that aren't true. But I think I should.
I want to interject. I want to interject. Thank you. What you just said. You said to join him. I think a lot of people, again, don't understand the inner workings of government. NRA is not a government entity. It's not a publicly owned entity. It's a private organization run by individuals. So what I tell people when they bash on them is, dude, go start your own gun lobby organization.
Do your own thing.
That's the part. So I've got guys that have big Instagram accounts, big social media accounts that I look at them posting hateful stuff and I say, what are you doing to change the laws? One of the biggest Supreme Court cases of the last 25 years, 100 years about firearms was right here out of Chicago, made its way all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, McDonald versus Chicago. It started without NRA, Illinois State Rifle Association, Illinois Carry, and then later NRA got on board with it. Changed gun laws across the country. That was the case that this citizen, McDonald, wonderful man, he passed away a few years ago, wasn't able to own a pistol. City of Chicago banned owning pistols, banned carrying a gun. It was totally illegal in the state of Illinois. So that case paid for with NRA membership money. I mean, they paid for the lawyers. They paid for that. That's what people don't get. And what you just said, they came to you to seek this out to help. If you look at, and I want everybody to, when they hear this, to actually go do it, go look up in your state how the laws came about for you to have concealed carry. And now every state in the nation has some provision. Go look at how it came about, and you will see in every single instance, in some way, shape, or form, an NRA lobbyist, NRA members, or NRA educators involved in that process. That's neither good. It's not a bad thing in any way, shape, or form, and it's not a. People say, well, they shouldn't have that much power. There is no they. There is people. It's human beings. It's not some they, like people think it's this like crazy, deep undercover organization. It's people. It's dudes like you and me that step up and get volunteer and they go do stuff. So I get livid, man. When I see some of these Instagram guys, I call them out too. That's part of the reason I don't have as big a following as some other people, because I'll say bullshit. You're full of shit. You don't know what you're talking about. Go look it up. I know these people. I work with these people. Been involved for years. Like, it's legit. This is how laws are changed. You have to lobby your legislators. You have to effectively get enough votes to pass things, and that costs money, and it takes manpower. So, again, I can get up on soapboxes all freaking day long. You're doing an interview later today with Cam from NRA TV?
I am.
Good. That'll be
I think that's whenever we hang up, that's next on the list. I got to test Skype with him.
Good.
Hopefully I can use that time to do exactly what I did here, to kind of address the people that have seen my story through the NRA and be like, hey, class it up a little bit. Like, it's like people, it blows my mind, some of the stuff that I've seen. And like I said, the one picture of my PPQ on my Instagram has jumped, 700 likes, plus 700 on likes, plus 240 on comments or something like that. And I haven't had a chance to go through and, like or reply to all the comments, but I've made it a priority to reply to the comments where people are like saying some nasty stuff about the school, nasty stuff about the coach. And they're all commenting this. I'm like, I try to reply to them and be like, look, dude, I appreciate your support, but that language and the way you're talking about people, that's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
That's not going to bring about the change we want.
No, nobody. This is the thing about how laws are made, which people don't understand when they bash on lobbyists. Lobbying should be illegal. Well, I don't think you understand what lobbying means. You can lobby by calling your senator, your lawmaker, your county board member. That's lobbying, and saying, hey, I'm a constituent, I'm a voter. I would really like if you look at this or vote this way on this issue. That's lobbying in the broad sense of the term. And there's unions do it, farmers do it, women against unshod horses. I'm making up a thing. I mean, every organization, every special interest group is the catchphrase. They all do it because we all want our thing. We all want our thing to become law, to be the thing that's looked at, voted on, and passed. That requires relationships. So that requires you to get that lawmaker to your side of thinking. It's arguing 101, not arguing in a derogatory manner, but I'm going to rebut and refute your claims. I want you to agree with my viewpoint, ultimately changing your position and voting for or against the thing I want. And that's how it works. And you don't get that by insulting, browbeating, putting people down, talking like a dirtbag. And these guys need to class it up.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I told the in like off the books, I said the same thing to a lot of these television reporters that have been talking to me. And I know they just talked to me for like 15 minutes. They're going to take a couple sound bites and they're just going to report on it. They're not going to give me the time to actually say all of this. But a lot of them, I told them I'm going on the podcast. I'm going to tell the whole story. I'm going to talk about my position and what I want out of this. And I know we didn't get a chance to talk about that for here. So a lot of them have offered to put a link to this podcast for people to get the whole story and get what I'm saying. It's like, class it up. Like, if you want change, join me in trying to bring some change about in this community. But don't be an asshole. Like,
right.
That's what it comes down to.
What I'm looking forward to is pumping this out. When we're done talking here, I'm gonna get this recording over to our editor, Drew. We're gonna get it up. I'll blast it out. I think my gut feeling is your school will change their stance because no laws are broken. There's no written policy from the school. They can't stay on that line. So I think that, in my opinion, I hope I'm right. I think they'll change their stance. But you said it. You want to make people aware of this so they stand up for themselves. I'm of the opinion that if you have the ability to do something good, to do something meaningful, to do something that can create change for the positive, and you don't, that's probably the biggest sin a human being can commit, my opinion. I think if you have the ability and you choose not to out of cowardice or fear or laziness or apathy, I think that's the biggest waste of life. And you, my friend, are doing a good thing here. I look forward to meeting you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
2 weeks at the event.
Yeah, I'll see you in you're good.
2 weeks down in Nashville.
Up in Nashville for me.
Down for me, up for you. It's going to be sweet.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I'm sure between now and then we'll have lots more to talk about, but lots more that'll come up that we'll have to share with, and maybe we'll have you at the event give a presentation to the group and talk about how this experience has impacted your life in a meaningful and positive way. You're the
I'd be willing to do that.
Leader of the future right here on the Higher Line podcast, man. Parting words for everybody?
Honestly, I would just like to thank everyone that has gotten me to this position. Like, Sheepdog Defense Project, they're the first guys to post about it. And then Clint over here from Gruntworks, he found me on Facebook and said, "Hey dude, like, I see what's happening. You want to go hog hunting? You want to hang out? I'm an ex-sheriff's deputy. I've got this company. I want to make some shirts for you." And I mean, sure, it's marketing for him, but he's just being a good dude and wanting to hang out. He's letting me record all this in his conference room because I didn't have a place to go.
That's awesome.
I've gotten kind words and prayers from alumni and people I trust. Obviously, my parents for the way they've raised me to do this. Next teammate Tibbles, he called me last night, said, "Dude, you have so much power in your hands right now, and what you say can really hurt a lot of people, or it can do something positive, and you better make sure it's something positive." And
smart kid.
I took that to heart. I'll see him next week where we're going to discuss some of this stuff. But there's like I can't even get to everyone who's gotten this to happen, but I'm not going to take it for granted. This whole thing, I've got people, messaging me and looking up to me and stuff, and now I'm under a microscope, and I just hope I don't disappoint anyone.
You keep doing what you're doing. You're going to be fine. There'll be plenty of people that are going to have negative things to say. Just water off a duck's back, man. What is your Instagram account? People can look it up. See all these crazy pictures.
My Instagram account is at Duckman Scholl. I changed it from a name that used to have my number in it once I was no longer number 40. And now that it's gotten all this attention, I guess I can't really change it now.
No,
I guess I'm officially the Duckman Scholl now. Man, my hunting buddies back home give me so much shit for that.
Because you're the duck man?
Yeah, there's a lot of inside jokes. I'm sure you'll see some
I want to go hunting. I want to go do some duck hunting. So
come to Maryland. When I come home, I'll be home for like a month and a half over Christmas break, and I will be hunting every single day of that time. We've got a spare bedroom, plenty of spots. Come out and I'll take you.
Yeah, man. I'll make that happen. I'll see you soon, brother. This will get posted up. We'll get you a comment. I'll get you the comments as they roll in, and I'll get you a link so you can share it if you have a mind to do so. Good luck
100%.
the rest of the day. Don't burn yourself out. Get some sleep. And for everybody out there listening, do right. As he said, if you can do something, get after it, make some change. Don't give in to fear. And I appreciate you, sir, for taking the time to do this. Good luck to you. This is Mickey.
Thank you.
With Kerry Trainer, Higher Line Podcast. If you guys are checking this out on YouTube, please subscribe and forward to your friends. This one is important. We want to get this message out there, and we want to make sure that people begin to invest energy in making a meaningful and lasting change. Be well. Visit our website, kerrytrainer.com, for information about classes held throughout the U.S., Kerry Trainer apparel, and upcoming projects. You can also email us at training@kerrytrainer.com for information about setting up your own private course or speaking engagement. Training@kerrytrainer.com or kerrytrainer.com.